This shooting board jig is used to miter the ends of the riser plates that are attached to the inside perimeter of the box. The box is made using the MIRAI aluminum case miter cutting jig. This is the case miter support. Since the jig is not long enough to cut off the full piece of plywood, it will need to be shifted to complete the cut. Shift the jig to cut off the plywood. After the jig is shifted, it cannot be firmly secured with a clamp in this position. It is therefore necessary to turn the case miter support in the opposite direction and secure the jig with the clamp from the other side. The first section of the table has now been cut off. The second section is cut off with the crosscut guide. Tape over the jig to prevent the glue from squeezing onto the jig. Attach a temporary fence alongside the main fence. Prepare an auxiliary board and place tape onto the board. The width of the auxiliary board is about the same as the width of the guidepost. Place the auxiliary board onto the case miter support, aligning both of the edges. Attach a temporary fence alongside the main fence. Place the workpiece and the jig on top of the auxiliary board. At this point, the auxiliary board should protrude slightly beyond the mitered workpiece surface, which is to be cut. Cut the workpiece, but be careful not to cut off the auxiliary board. Only a shallow kerf should result. The protruded section will act as a stop when gluing the table section. Once the workpiece is cut, turn all pieces over and clamp to the workbench without removing the jig. The gluing position is determined precisely by pressing the table section against the auxiliary board. Temporary nails are used here because clamps cannot be used. The nails should not be driven in too deep or they will hit the aluminum plate. The temporary nails have been removed after the glue has cured. Next, glue the fence to the guidepost. To prevent the fence from shifting from its gluing position, 4 sticks with double-sided tape are attached to the guidepost. Scrap pieces of similar dimensions are inserted to keep the gap between the 2 table sections consistent. The gap should be kept wider than the thickness of a normal riser plate. To make effective use of the full width of the plane blade to miter the end of the workpiece, the plane guides are affixed on top of the table sections with double-sided tape.